Were those budget meals from the 1970s really as delicious as you remember? In kitchens across the decade, these dishes stretched every dollar while still filling plates with flavors that brought families together. How did something made to save money taste so good? Cabbage roll casserole took all the flavors of traditional stuffed cabbage and turned them into an easy, budget-friendly bake. Instead of painstakingly rolling each cabbage leaf around the filling, chopped cabbage was layered with a seasoned mixture of rice, tomato sauce, and ground beef in a large casserole dish. This shortcut saved precious time, while still delivering the same comforting blend of sweet cabbage and tangy tomato that people loved. It was an affordable way to feed a family because the rice and cabbage made up most of the volume, allowing a small amount of meat to go a long way. As the casserole baked slowly, the flavors melded beautifully, and the cabbage softened until it was tender and sweet. Leftovers were just as good, sometimes even better the next day, making it a smart choice for tight weekly meal plans. Every family had its own spin, often seasoning with paprika, garlic, or fresh herbs from the garden. In many homes, this dish represented a perfect marriage of tradition and practicality, proving that with creativity, even the simplest pantry ingredients could deliver a meal that wrapped you in comfort after a long day. Cheese and pickle toasties offered a warm, tangy snack that was a common fixture in vintage American cookbooks. These toasties combined melted cheese with pickles, sandwiched between slices of bread and grilled or toasted until golden and bubbly. The contrasting flavors of creamy cheese and sharp pickles created a satisfying balance that made this snack appealing across age groups. Quick to assemble and easy to cook, cheese and pickle toasties became a favorite when a simple yet flavorful snack was needed without fuss. The recipe's enduring popularity stemmed from its use of accessible ingredients and the way it elevated basic staples into a tasty treat. These toasties often brought a sense of nostalgia, reminding many of afternoons spent at home or school with comforting homemade snacks. They exemplify how mid-century cooks combined familiar flavors in straightforward ways to deliver maximum enjoyment with minimal effort. The warm, crispy exterior and gooey filling remain a hallmark of this beloved classic. Tuna salad stuffed tomatoes were a colorful and nutritious 10-minute recipe featuring halved tomatoes filled with a quick tuna salad mixture, perfect for lunches or light dinners. The tuna salad was typically made by combining canned tuna with mayonnaise, chopped celery, onions, and seasonings, then spooned into hollowed tomato halves for a visually appealing presentation. This dish offered a refreshing balance of creamy, tangy tuna salad with the juicy, slightly acidic tomato, making it a satisfying yet light meal option. Popular in 1960s America, tuna salad stuffed tomatoes embodied the trend of combining convenience foods with fresh produce for speedy preparation. Served chilled, they were often enjoyed at picnics, buffets, or simple home meals. While less common today, this recipe remains a charming example of mid-century quick dishes that balance taste, nutrition, and ease. Clam dip in the 1970s was a cocktail party essential, the kind of appetizer that seemed to draw guests like a magnet. Made from minced clams blended into cream cheese or sour cream, it was seasoned with lemon juice, Worcestershire sauce, and a hint of garlic. Served chilled with an array of crackers, chips, or crudités, it provided a rich, briny contrast to the other finger foods on offer. It was a dish that managed to be both sophisticated and accessible, appealing to seafood lovers and the simply curious alike. Many hosts appreciated how quickly it could be assembled, often just minutes before guests arrived. In the 1970s, when entertaining at home was often a regular weekend event, having a reliable, crowd-pleasing dip in the repertoire was invaluable. Clam dip's creamy base and subtle seafood flavor made it stand out without overpowering other flavors on the table. Paired with a crisp white wine or a classic cocktail, it set the tone for a relaxed yet polished gathering. For many, it is still a taste that instantly recalls the hum of conversation and the clink of glasses from decades past. Pineapple meatballs were a popular 1970s dish that combined inexpensive ground meat with canned pineapple to add a sweet and tangy flavor, stretching limited protein further. The pineapple chunks softened the meatballs while infusing them with a unique twist that balanced savory and fruity notes. This recipe allowed families to enjoy a festive, flavorful meal without splurging on fancy ingredients. Typically baked or simmered in a simple sauce, these meatballs were served over rice or noodles, turning modest components into a filling dinner. The canned pineapple was often a pantry staple, prized for its long shelf life and ability to brighten up otherwise plain dishes. Pineapple meatballs became a fun and unexpected crowd pleaser at tables, embodying the spirit of 1970s home cooking where creativity met necessity. Its charm was in making the most of what was available while keeping meals exciting and tasty. Eggplant parmesan casserole brought a touch of Italian-inspired comfort to the frugal dinner table, making use of the abundant and inexpensive eggplant that was widely available in grocery stores and gardens. Slices of eggplant were dredged in breadcrumbs, sometimes homemade from stale bread, and baked or pan-fried until tender. These slices were layered in a casserole dish with marinara sauce and cheese, then baked until bubbly and golden on top. The eggplant's mild, creamy texture absorbed the flavors of the sauce, giving the dish richness without the need for costly meat. For those watching their spending, this casserole was a way to create a hearty, crowd-worthy meal that felt indulgent yet cost very little. Leftovers reheated beautifully, making it perfect for meal planning. Some home cooks added extra vegetables like spinach or zucchini between the layers, stretching the recipe even further. Paired with a side of pasta or crusty bread, eggplant parmesan casserole was both filling and satisfying, offering all the comfort of a traditional Italian dinner at a fraction of the price. It stood as proof that vegetables could take center stage in a main dish without sacrificing flavor, heartiness, or the joy of gathering around the table. Fruit Jell-O with cottage cheese was a nostalgic dessert that combined the sweetness and jiggly texture of flavored gelatin with the creamy, mild tang of cottage cheese. This recipe involved layering or mixing prepared fruit-flavored gelatin with cottage cheese and often included chunks of fresh or canned fruit to add texture and flavor. It was popular in mid-century American households for its bright appearance and ease of preparation. Fruit Jell-O with cottage cheese appealed to families looking for a light, refreshing dessert that required minimal effort and used readily available ingredients. The dish reflected the era's fascination with molded gelatin desserts, which were often served at family gatherings and holiday meals. Its combination of sweet and creamy elements offered a pleasing contrast that made it memorable and comforting. This dessert remains a charming example of vintage American cuisine that continues to evoke fond memories. Cheese and pineapple skewers were a cheerful, bite-sized appetizer that embodied the playful spirit of 1960s entertaining. Cubes of sharp cheddar cheese alternated with sweet pineapple chunks threaded onto toothpicks or cocktail sticks, creating an attractive and easy-to-eat party snack. The contrasting flavors of salty, savory cheese with juicy tropical pineapple made for a pleasing combination that delighted guests at cocktail parties, potlucks, and family gatherings. These skewers required no cooking and minimal preparation, allowing hosts to quickly assemble a tasty and visually appealing dish. This simple recipe reflected the era's fondness for finger foods that combined convenience with a touch of sophistication. Though the popularity of pineapple in savory dishes has waned, cheese and pineapple skewers remain a nostalgic symbol of mid-century Americana and its inventive yet accessible approach to casual entertaining. Hummingbird cake was a sweet southern treasure that swept across the nation in the 1970s. Known for its tropical flavors and moist crumb. Made with ripe bananas, crushed pineapple, and chopped pecans, the batter was warmly spiced, usually with cinnamon, and baked into tall, tender layers. Cream cheese icing covered each layer generously, adding tang to balance the sweetness. It was a cake for weddings, church gatherings, and family celebrations, standing out from the usual chocolate or vanilla. Rooted in Southern hospitality, it was often baked in large portions to share generously. Each slice offered a perfect mix of fruit, nuts, and rich frosting, creating a dessert that felt both indulgent and comforting. Even now, it evokes memories of gatherings where generous slices were served on floral plates alongside coffee or sweet tea, marking moments that were meant to be remembered. Potato and onion soup was a warming, economical soup made from pantry basics, perfect for chilly evenings in the 1970s when budgets were tight and comfort was needed most. Combining simple potatoes and onions with water or broth, this soup relied on long simmering to coax out deep flavors without the need for costly ingredients. The potatoes lent body and creaminess to the broth, while the onions added sweetness and aroma. Basic seasonings like salt, pepper, and herbs could be used to keep things interesting without inflating costs. This soup was often served with bread or crackers, turning it into a satisfying and frugal meal that could feed an entire family. Its simplicity made it easy to prepare, requiring minimal time and skill, which was essential in many households juggling tight schedules and tight finances. Potato and onion soup became a beloved staple for those seeking nourishment and warmth without spending much, embodying the heart of 1970s home cooking. Ground beef and potato hash was a skillet meal that stretched a small amount of meat into something hearty enough to satisfy hungry stomachs after a long day. Diced potatoes were fried until golden and crisp, then combined with browned ground beef, onions, and simple seasonings. The result was a dish with plenty of texture, crispy edges on the potatoes, tender bits of beef, and the sweetness of caramelized onions tying it all together. This meal was endlessly adaptable, with some families adding vegetables like bell peppers or corn for extra flavor and bulk. It was a natural choice for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and it could be made in large batches without much extra effort. In frugal kitchens, hash was a way to make every ingredient count, turning basic staples into something satisfying and filling. It was also quick to prepare, making it a weeknight favorite. Served on its own or topped with a fried egg, ground beef and potato hash was the kind of no-frills comfort food that felt like a reward at the end of the day. It proved that even the simplest combinations could be deeply flavorful and endlessly comforting. Turkey and cranberry wraps were a clever and quick lunch idea that made excellent use of holiday leftovers in mid-century America. This recipe wrapped slices of leftover roasted turkey with a spread of sweet cranberry sauce inside soft tortillas or flatbreads. It offered a perfect balance between savory and sweet, combining the hearty flavors of turkey with the bright tartness of cranberries. Turkey and cranberry wraps were appreciated for their speed of assembly and portability, making them ideal for packed lunches or light dinners. The dish reflected the era's emphasis on practicality and frugality, encouraging cooks to creatively reuse festive ingredients. Its fresh, vibrant taste made it appealing beyond the holiday season, extending its presence in everyday meals. This recipe highlighted how simple ingredients could be transformed into satisfying, flavorful options that fit the busy pace of post-war life. Turkey and cranberry wraps continue to evoke the warmth and resourcefulness of classic American cooking traditions. Cucumber and radish salad with dill was a crisp, refreshing cold salad that became a favorite in the 1960s for its vibrant flavors and ease of preparation. Thinly sliced cucumbers and radishes were tossed with fresh dill and dressed lightly with vinegar, sugar, and sometimes a touch of sour cream or mayonnaise. This combination created a balance of cool, peppery, and herbal notes that complemented summer meals and barbecues beautifully. Served chilled, this salad was a quick 10-minute recipe that added brightness and texture to the dinner table, providing a healthy vegetable side with minimal fuss. Its simplicity and fresh ingredients reflected the era's growing appreciation for quick, garden-fresh dishes that could be prepared without lengthy cooking. Though less common today, cucumber and radish salad with dill remains a nostalgic and tasty example of mid-century cold vegetable salads designed to refresh and complement heartier foods. Cabbage soup in the 1970s was one of those dishes that managed to be both humble and versatile, making it a staple in many households. It was a light yet filling option, often simmered slowly with onions, carrots, celery, and a gentle seasoning of herbs to bring out its natural sweetness. Some families added diced potatoes or tomatoes for extra body, while others kept it simple for a more delicate flavor. This soup was perfect for stretching a budget, as cabbage was inexpensive and widely available in grocery stores and backyard gardens alike. It also aligned with the decade's growing interest in lighter eating, often being promoted in diet plans and magazine articles promising quick results. But beyond its use in fad diets, cabbage soup was also a comforting weeknight meal, especially when served with warm bread or rolls. Its aroma filled the kitchen with a sense of hominess, and its ease of preparation meant it could be left to simmer while other tasks were done. In a time when convenience and health were becoming equal priorities, cabbage soup struck a balance, offering nourishment without fuss. It was a dish that could be adapted endlessly, yet never lost its straightforward charm. Grits and beans was a classic Southern pairing that balanced affordable, easy-to-grow corn grits with protein-packed cooked beans, making it a popular meal among low-income families in the 1970s. The dish was hearty and filling, providing energy and nourishment with simple ingredients that could be bought in bulk or grown in home gardens. Grits, often cooked creamy or slightly coarse, offered a comforting base, while beans added texture and flavor with minimal cost. This combination was flexible and adaptable, with variations depending on local bean varieties and seasoning preferences. It was a go-to meal that could be made vegetarian or with bits of pork for added richness when budgets allowed. Grits and beans reflected a culinary tradition rooted in resourcefulness and community, making it a staple on Southern tables during times of financial struggle. Its warmth and simplicity made it more than just food. It was a reminder of home and resilience. Crispy potato pancakes were a beloved pan-fried dish made from grated potatoes, cherished for their golden crunch and comforting flavor. Perfect for breakfast or dinner, these pancakes used simple ingredients like shredded potatoes, eggs, and flour to bind them before frying in oil or butter. The recipe's appeal lay in its quick preparation and the satisfying contrast of a crisp exterior with a tender interior. Mid-20th century families often turned to potato pancakes as an economical way to stretch ingredients while delivering hearty, flavorful meals. The dish was popular in both rural and urban kitchens, often served with sour cream, applesauce, or gravy. Crispy potato pancakes embodied the era's emphasis on practical, filling food that could be made easily with pantry staples. Their enduring popularity speaks to the timeless appeal of simple, well-executed comfort food that warms both body and soul. Grape and cheese salad was a sweet and savory cold dish that combined juicy, fresh grapes with cubes of sharp cheddar cheese and a touch of mayonnaise for added creaminess. This salad was a common favorite at family gatherings, potlucks, and holiday meals throughout the 1960s, appreciated for its unique blend of contrasting flavors and simple, quick assembly. The natural sweetness of the grapes perfectly balanced the tangy, robust flavor of the cheddar cheese, while the mayonnaise provided a smooth texture that brought all the elements together. Often served chilled on a bed of crisp lettuce or alongside other cold dishes, this recipe exemplified the era's fondness for pairing sweet fruits with savory ingredients in cold salads and appetizers. While it may seem unusual to modern tastes, grape and cheese salad remains a nostalgic symbol of inventive and approachable mid-century American cooking. It highlights the creativity and resourcefulness of home cooks who sought to create tasty dishes that were both convenient and visually appealing, capturing the comforting spirit of quick recipes from the 1960s. Corn fritters in the 1970s were a side dish that could bridge the gap between casual and celebratory meals. These golden, crispy cakes were made by mixing fresh or canned corn kernels into a batter that often included flour, eggs, and a splash of milk. The mixture was spooned into hot oil and fried until each fritter puffed slightly and turned a deep, appetizing gold. The exterior crackled with each bite, giving way to a tender interior dotted with bursts of sweet corn. They could be served alongside roasted meats, barbecued chicken, or even as part of a breakfast spread. Some home cooks added chopped scallions or shredded cheese for an extra layer of flavor, while others kept them plain to highlight the corn's natural sweetness. Corn fritters were a nod to rural traditions while fitting easily into suburban kitchens, offering both comfort and a hint of nostalgia. Their simplicity made them a favorite for home cooks, and their universal appeal meant they never lingered long on the plate. In an age when food was both a creative outlet and a social connector, corn fritters fit perfectly. satisfying without stealing the show from the rest of the meal. Chili Mac combined hearty chili with macaroni noodles to create a filling, budget-friendly casserole that became a favorite during the 1970s when families sought affordable, easy-to-make meals. Using inexpensive ground meat or beans, canned tomatoes, and basic spices, the chili was simmered into a rich sauce that soaked into the tender macaroni, stretching the meal further. This dish was often baked with a topping of cheese or breadcrumbs when available, adding a golden crust that made it feel more substantial. Chili Mac was a one-pot wonder that could feed a crowd and was perfect for leftovers, making it a practical choice for families managing tight food budgets. Its combination of protein, starch, and flavor made it a comforting staple during colder months or any time when a simple, satisfying meal was needed. The dish demonstrated how creative layering of basic ingredients could turn humble staples into a hearty feast. Homemade pot pie with biscuit topping offered the comfort of a classic without the expense of store-bought frozen versions. Instead of a traditional pie crust, which could be time-consuming and require more costly butter, cooks topped the filling with drop biscuits made from flour, milk, and shortening. The filling was a clever way to use up leftover meats, most often chicken, turkey, or beef, combined with inexpensive vegetables like peas, carrots, and potatoes in a creamy sauce thickened with flour. The biscuit topping baked into a golden, tender layer that absorbed some of the savory filling, making every bite warm and satisfying. For many families, this dish was a perfect example of turning odds and ends into something that felt like a treat. The aroma of the biscuits baking with the bubbling filling underneath made the whole kitchen smell inviting. It was a meal that blended frugality with a sense of homey indulgence. Cottage cheese and fruit bowls offered a light and wholesome dish that paired creamy, mild cottage cheese with a variety of seasonal fruits. This combination was celebrated for its balance of protein and natural sweetness, making it a favored choice for breakfast, snacks, or light lunches. The simplicity of this dish made it highly adaptable, as any fresh or canned fruits could be used, including berries, peaches, or pineapple. Mid-century cooks appreciated its nutritional benefits and the quick assembly it required, fitting well with busy lifestyles. The dish also provided a refreshing contrast in textures, with the softness of the cheese complemented by the juicy firmness of the fruit. Cottage cheese and fruit bowls reflected the era's growing interest in health-conscious meals that did not sacrifice taste or convenience. This classic pairing remains a nostalgic favorite, reminding many of the straightforward yet satisfying dishes of their youth. Crispy cheese and cracker stack was a beloved no-cook snack in many 1960s American homes, consisting of neatly layered slices of cheese and crisp crackers assembled for easy serving and eating. This simple but satisfying recipe required only the choice of favorite cheeses, such as sharp cheddar, Swiss, or processed cheese slices, stacked between crackers to create bite-sized, flavorful snacks. The delightful contrast between the crunchy texture of the crackers and the smooth or firm texture of the cheese made this dish a favorite at family gatherings, cocktail parties, and casual snacks alike. These stacks could be put together in minutes, making them an ideal last-minute appetizer or easy-to-grab snack option. The recipe reflected the mid-century American appreciation for convenience combined with familiar and comforting flavors. Though modern snack trends have evolved toward more elaborate or health-focused options, crispy cheese and cracker stacks remain a nostalgic favorite for those who remember classic party fare, representing a time when simple ingredients and minimal preparation were the keys to enjoyable, entertaining, and quick bites. Cornish game. Hens were a hallmark of 1970s elegance, the kind of main course you brought out when you wanted each guest to feel special. These small birds, roasted whole, made for an impressive presentation, everyone having their own perfectly portioned main rather than slices carved from a larger roast. Seasoned simply or dressed up with herbs, citrus, or glazes, they roasted quickly and looked beautiful on the plate. Serving them was part of the appeal. Lifting the lid on a serving platter to reveal rows of golden brown hens was guaranteed to earn admiration. In the 1970s, when entertaining often leaned toward the theatrical, Cornish game hens fit right in. They were accessible in supermarkets yet carried an air of luxury, making them perfect for holiday dinners, anniversaries, or even an ambitious weeknight meal. Side dishes could be as simple as roasted vegetables or as elaborate as wild rice pilaf, but the hens always stole the show. For many home cooks, they symbolized the shift toward more individual, restaurant-style plating, a trend that still influences dinner parties today. They were a perfect blend of attainable glamour and hearty comfort. Sloppy lentil sliders were a clever way to enjoy the sloppy Joe craze on a budget, swapping ground beef for lentils simmered in tangy tomato sauce. These mini patties were packed with flavor and nutrients, but cost a fraction of traditional meat sliders, making them a popular choice for families tightening their belts. Lentils provided a meaty texture that held together well when formed into small slider-sized patties, which were then topped with the signature sloppy Joe sauce. Served on small buns or even plain bread, these sliders brought joy to dinner tables without denting wallets. This dish embodied the spirit of 1970s thriftiness, taking a beloved classic and making it accessible to all income levels. The warm, tangy sauce paired perfectly with the hearty lentils, satisfying appetites and stretching meals further. It was a great way to introduce plant-based proteins before such ideas became mainstream, showcasing the timeless nature of creative, budget-friendly cooking. Chicken and rice baked with cream soup was a casserole that could turn just a couple of chicken pieces into a meal large enough to feed the whole family. Raw rice was combined in a baking dish with cream of mushroom or cream of chicken soup, water, and simple seasonings. The chicken was placed on top, and the whole dish baked until the meat was tender and the rice had absorbed all the creamy, savory flavor. This hands-off cooking method made it a favorite for busy weeknights, while its affordability made it a reliable choice for families keeping a close eye on grocery bills. Using a single casserole dish also meant less cleanup afterward, which only added to its appeal. Leftovers reheated well, making it ideal for packing into lunch containers the next day. Many variations existed, with some cooks adding vegetables like peas or carrots directly into the rice for a complete one-pan dinner. Whether served at the kitchen table on a weeknight or brought to a potluck chicken and rice bake was dependable, filling, and comforting. It embodied the idea that good food didn't need to be complicated, expensive, or labor-intensive to be deeply satisfying. Sweet potato fries offered a fast and delicious way to enjoy an inexpensive seasonal root vegetable that was especially popular during mid-century America. These fries were typically prepared by slicing sweet potatoes into thin strips and cooking them quickly either in a hot oven or skillet with oil until crisp and golden. Sweet potato fries stood out for their natural sweetness and vibrant color, providing a tasty alternative to traditional potato fries. Their preparation was straightforward, requiring few ingredients and little time, making them accessible to home cooks of all skill levels. The dish capitalized on the affordability and availability of sweet potatoes during certain seasons, turning them into a crowd-pleasing snack or side. Sweet potato fries reflected the era's emphasis on practical, flavorful dishes that could be enjoyed quickly and easily. They remain a beloved comfort food that carries the warmth and nostalgia of classic American cooking. Chilled tomato gazpacho shots were a refreshing and flavorful cold appetizer that offered a taste of Mediterranean cuisine adapted to American kitchens in the 1960s. This recipe blended fresh tomatoes with cucumber, bell pepper, garlic, and seasonings into a smooth, chilled soup served in small shot glasses or appetizer cups. Gazpacho's cool temperature and vibrant, tangy flavor made it an ideal starter for summer meals and dinner parties, providing a light and healthy option before the main course. The quick blending process meant the dish could be prepared in 10 minutes or less, fitting the growing desire for fast yet impressive recipes. These tomato gazpacho shots showcased the era's interest in international flavors and novel presentations that elevated simple ingredients. Though gazpacho is more widely known today, serving it in shot-sized portions remains a charming retro way to enjoy this classic cold soup. This recipe reminds us of the 1960s fascination with global cuisine and stylish entertaining made easy. Porcupine meatballs in the 1970s were a playful, hearty favorite that appealed to kids and adults alike. Ground beef was mixed with uncooked rice, which expanded as it simmered in a tomato-based sauce, giving the meatballs their spiky appearance. The rice soaked up flavor while helping bind the meat, creating a tender, satisfying bite. They were budget-friendly, stretching ingredients without sacrificing taste, and could be made ahead for convenience. Served with mashed potatoes, noodles, or bread for dipping, they became a comforting staple in many households. Their quirky name brought smiles, while their rich flavor kept them on regular rotation. In a time when creativity in the kitchen was valued, porcupine meatballs stood out as a clever way to turn simple ingredients into something memorable, delivering both nostalgia and comfort with every serving. Meatloaf muffins were a clever twist on traditional meatloaf, designed to stretch ground meat into multiple small servings, perfect for families on a budget in the 1970s. Instead of making one large loaf, cooks baked individual muffin-sized portions in a pan, allowing for quicker cooking times and easier portion control. These mini meatloaves often incorporated filler ingredients like breadcrumbs, oats, or grated vegetables to bulk out the meat and make it go further. This approach helped families manage meat shortages or rising prices while still enjoying a classic comfort food. Meatloaf muffins could be topped with a simple tomato-based glaze or ketchup for added flavor, giving each muffin a delicious, slightly caramelized finish. They were perfect for school lunches or dinners and could be easily reheated without drying out. The convenience and economy of meatloaf muffins made them a beloved staple in frugal 1970s kitchens, showing how a bit of creativity could transform modest ingredients into family favorites. Shepherd's pie with mashed potato topping was a 1970s classic that stretched a small amount of meat into a full, comforting family dinner. Leftover roast beef, ground beef, or even chicken was combined with gravy and an assortment of vegetables, sometimes fresh, sometimes frozen, and layered in a baking dish. A generous topping of creamy mashed potatoes covered the filling, and baking until the top turned golden brown gave the dish a satisfying contrast of textures. This was one of the best ways to avoid waste, turning odds and ends from the fridge into something that felt like a proper Sunday dinner. Because the recipe was so flexible, no two versions were ever exactly alike, yet they all carried that same familiar sense of warmth and comfort. Families appreciated that it could be made ahead and reheated on busy nights, and the smell of it in the oven often had everyone gathering in the kitchen before it was ready. In many homes, shepherd's pie was proof that even the most modest leftovers, with a little creativity, could be transformed into a meal that felt rich and memorable. Pinto bean chili with cornbread was the kind of meal that could stretch to feed a large family without straining the grocery budget. Dried pinto beans, simmered until tender with onions, garlic, and a touch of chili powder, created a hearty base that did not need much meat to feel complete. When meat was used, it was often just a small amount of ground beef or sausage for flavor, rather than bulk. The cornbread, golden and slightly sweet, balanced the spice and added a filling side that could be made from inexpensive pantry ingredients. Together, the chili and cornbread made a meal that felt abundant, even if the ingredients were modest. This dish fit perfectly into the 1970s kitchen, where home cooks often relied on beans for affordable protein and looked for ways to make them exciting. Pinto bean chili was also easy to adapt, allowing cooks to use what they had without losing the comforting essence of the meal. Quick slaw with vinegar dressing was a tangy and no mayonnaise coleslaw variant that became popular for its simplicity and refreshing taste. This salad featured shredded cabbage and carrots tossed with a vinegar-based dressing made from vinegar, sugar, oil, and seasonings, offering a lighter alternative to traditional creamy slaws. Quick slaw with vinegar dressing was appreciated for how fast it could be prepared, requiring no lengthy chilling or mixing of heavy ingredients. Its crisp, tangy flavor made it a favorite side dish for barbecues, picnics, and casual meals during the mid-20th century. This version of slaw fit well within the era's culinary trends, favoring easy-to-make, health-conscious dishes that complemented grilled or fried main courses. The recipe's reliance on pantry staples and fresh produce made it accessible to home cooks seeking quick, flavorful accompaniments. Quick slaw with vinegar dressing remains a nostalgic favorite that highlights mid-century America's practical approach to salads. Quick fruit and nut yogurt. Parfait was a quick and nutritious treat beloved in the 1960s for its simple assembly and delightful flavors. This parfait layered creamy yogurt with sweet canned fruits such as peaches or pineapple, along with a generous sprinkling of chopped nuts like walnuts or pecans. The combination provided a pleasing contrast between the smooth, tangy yogurt, the juicy fruit, and the crunchy texture of the nuts. Perfect for breakfast, a snack, or a light dessert, this recipe required minimal preparation time, fitting the era's demand for fast, wholesome meals. The canned fruit added a convenient sweetness that balanced the natural tartness of yogurt, while the nuts contributed protein and richness. This parfait was often served in clear glasses to showcase its colorful layers, making it visually appealing as well as tasty. Its popularity reflected the growing awareness of health and nutrition during the decade, along with a desire for fresh, easy-to-make dishes. While today's parfaits may include granola or fresh fruit, the classic 1960s fruit and nut yogurt parfait remains a nostalgic favorite, combining pantry staples into a satisfying and wholesome treat that anyone could whip up in moments. Baked macaroni and cheese with breadcrumb topping in the 1970s was the ultimate homemade comfort dish. Elbow macaroni was coated in a creamy sauce made from cheddar, milk, and butter, then baked under a golden crust of buttery breadcrumbs. This topping gave it a crisp texture that perfectly balanced the tender pasta beneath. Some cooks elevated the flavor with additions like diced ham, sliced tomatoes, or a dash of mustard powder. It was a dish for both casual weeknights and larger gatherings, beloved by all ages. As it baked, the cheese bubbled and the breadcrumbs toasted, filling kitchens with a mouth-watering aroma. During the 1970s casserole boom, baked macaroni and cheese remained a standout for its universal appeal, affordability, and make-ahead convenience. Each forkful delivered pure comfort, proving why it earned a permanent place in family recipe collections across the decade. Mock chicken salad cleverly used canned water chestnuts and mayonnaise to recreate the crunchy, creamy texture of traditional chicken salad without the expense of real poultry. This budget-friendly recipe allowed families to enjoy the familiar flavors of a classic lunch without splurging on meat, especially during times when fresh chicken might be hard to come by or too costly. The water chestnuts added a satisfying crunch that mimicked shredded chicken, while mayo brought creaminess and tang. Adding a few pantry staples like chopped celery, onions, or pickle relish enhanced the flavor and kept costs low. This salad was perfect served on bread, crackers, or as a simple side, and it helped stretch limited resources in a creative way. In the 1970s, when convenience and thrift were essential in kitchens, recipes like this made a big difference. Mock chicken salad proved that affordable ingredients could come together to create a satisfying, familiar meal with minimal fuss and maximum flavor. Corn pudding casserole blended sweet and savory flavors into a side dish that could easily double as a main course for a light dinner. Made from canned corn, eggs, milk, sugar, and a small amount of flour or cornstarch, it baked into a soft, custard-like texture with a golden top. The sweetness of the corn was balanced by the richness of the eggs and milk, creating a comforting, almost dessert-like flavor. Corn pudding was often served at holiday meals, church suppers, or potlucks, but it was just as welcome on an ordinary weeknight. It was inexpensive to prepare, relying mostly on pantry staples, and could be scaled up easily to feed a large crowd. Leftovers reheated well, retaining their creamy texture, and the dish was versatile enough to pair with meats, vegetables, or even beans. In households that valued tradition, corn pudding was a nostalgic recipe passed down through generations, each family putting its own twist on the seasoning or sweetness. Its gentle flavor and simple preparation made it a reliable favorite, offering comfort and warmth in every spoonful without requiring much more than what was already in the kitchen pantry. Green bean almondine was a speedy and flavorful side dish that perfectly captured mid-century America's love for simple, elegant vegetables. This recipe involved sautéing fresh green beans in butter and tossing them with toasted almonds for a satisfying crunch. The dish was favored for its minimal preparation time and ability to elevate humble green beans into a sophisticated accompaniment. Its buttery richness paired with the nuttiness of almonds complemented a wide range of main courses, from roasted meats to casual dinners. Popular at family gatherings and holiday meals, green bean almondine offered a fresh yet indulgent way to serve vegetables. The recipe's success lay in balancing texture and flavor, while requiring only a few ingredients readily found in most kitchens. This dish reflected the era's trend toward incorporating fresh produce into everyday meals with straightforward, quick-cooking methods. Its continued popularity attests to its timeless appeal and the nostalgic memories it evokes of classic American home cooking. Green bean almondine was a speedy and flavorful side dish that perfectly captured mid-century America's love for simple, elegant vegetables. This recipe involved sautéing fresh green beans in butter and tossing them with toasted almonds for a satisfying crunch. The dish was favored for its minimal preparation time and ability to elevate humble green beans into a sophisticated accompaniment. Its buttery richness paired with the nuttiness of almonds complemented a wide range of main courses, from roasted meats to casual dinners. Popular at family gatherings and holiday meals, green bean almondine offered a fresh yet indulgent way to serve vegetables. The recipe's success lay in balancing texture and flavor, while requiring only a few ingredients readily found in most kitchens. This dish reflected the era's trend toward incorporating fresh produce into everyday meals with straightforward, quick-cooking methods. Its continued popularity attests to its timeless appeal and the nostalgic memories it evokes of classic American home cooking. Chicken and celery salad cups were a refreshing and hearty cold dish that featured shredded cooked chicken combined with crunchy celery and creamy mayonnaise, served in crisp lettuce or endive cups. This 10-minute recipe was a favorite at 1960s cocktail parties and family gatherings for its convenience and attractive presentation. The chicken and celery mixture was lightly seasoned and chilled, providing a cool, satisfying filling that balanced the tender meat with fresh, crisp vegetables. Serving the salad in lettuce or endive leaves allowed for an elegant finger food option that was both light and filling. This dish showcased the era's talent for transforming simple ingredients into stylish, easy-to-eat appetizers. Though modern tastes have shifted towards different wraps and dips, chicken and celery salad cups remain a delightful example of mid-century American entertaining that combined speed, flavor, and sophistication. Vegetable stir-fry with ramen noodles made the most of inexpensive instant noodles and a mix of frozen or canned vegetables, creating a quick and satisfying meal for families on a budget. In the 1970s, ramen noodles were an affordable pantry staple, loved for their long shelf life and ease of preparation. Tossing them in a hot pan with whatever vegetables were available, like carrots, peas, or cabbage, turned a simple packet of noodles into a colorful, nourishing dish. The combination of crunchy veggies and soft noodles made for a texture-packed meal that didn't cost much but filled hungry bellies efficiently. It was a clever way to add variety and nutrients without the need for expensive fresh produce. The use of soy sauce or basic seasonings enhanced the flavors, mimicking popular takeout dishes, but at a fraction of the price. This dish quickly became a favorite for weeknight dinners and lunch boxes alike, proving that resourcefulness in the kitchen could lead to tasty, wholesome results even during tight times. Vegetable stir-fry with ramen noodles captured the essence of 1970s thrift and comfort food. Cornbread and pinto beans was a meal deeply rooted in Southern cooking that found its way into frugal kitchens across America during the 1970s. Pinto beans simmered slowly with onions, salt, and maybe just a scrap of ham or bacon for richness were served alongside or spooned over wedges of golden cornbread. The beans provided hearty protein and a savory earthiness, while the cornbread brought sweetness and a crumbly texture that made every bite satisfying. Cooking the beans low and slow allowed them to develop a depth of flavor that paired beautifully with the slightly crisp edges of skillet-baked cornbread. The dish was incredibly inexpensive, feeding a family for pennies and offering leftovers that were just as good reheated the next day. Many households considered this the ultimate comfort meal, perfect for cold evenings when something simple yet filling was needed. Butter melting into a hot slice of cornbread next to a steaming bowl of beans was a humble pleasure that carried generations of tradition. More than just a meal, it was a reminder of resourcefulness, resilience, and the beauty of making something wonderful from basic, affordable ingredients. cucumber and dill salad was a refreshing and speedy side dish that combined crisp, cool cucumbers with the bright, herbaceous flavor of fresh dill. This salad required minimal preparation, typically involving thinly sliced cucumbers tossed with a light dressing made from vinegar, sugar, and sometimes sour cream or yogurt. It was a popular choice in mid-century American kitchens for its clean taste and ease of assembly. Cucumber and dill salad offered a crisp contrast to heavier main courses, making it a welcome addition to summer meals and potlucks. Its use of fresh herbs and simple ingredients reflected the era's appreciation for fresh produce and balanced flavors. The salad's quick preparation made it accessible to cooks looking for fast, healthy options. Cucumber and dill salad remains a nostalgic favorite, celebrated for its bright flavors and straightforward charm that epitomize classic home cooking. Ratatouille in the 1970s was less about rustic French kitchens and more about showing off a colorful, health-conscious side to dinner. This vegetable medley, usually zucchini, eggplant, tomatoes, onions, and peppers, was slowly cooked until tender, with olive oil and herbs infusing every bite. It appealed to the decade's growing interest in lighter, plant-focused eating while still feeling indulgent. Many home cooks discovered it through cookbooks or television chefs who were introducing European recipes to American audiences. The beauty of ratatouille was in its flexibility. It could be served hot as a side, chilled as a salad, or even spooned over rice or pasta for a vegetarian main. In a time when bright, fresh dishes were gaining ground against heavy, cream-laden meals, ratatouille stood out with its vibrant colors and natural flavors. Its presentation, often layered or artfully arranged, also made it attractive for dinner parties, where appearance mattered almost as much as taste. In an era experimenting with international influences, ratatouille found a perfect niche, offering something new without straying too far from familiar vegetables. The result was a dish that felt modern yet comforting, a reflection of changing tastes in American kitchens. Cream cheese and pineapple spread was a sweet and tangy cold appetizer popular in the 1960s, combining smooth cream cheese with crushed canned pineapple for a luscious and easy-to-make spread. This recipe required no cooking and could be whipped up in minutes by folding pineapple into softened cream cheese, sometimes with a touch of sugar or coconut for extra flavor. Served chilled on crackers, celery sticks, or as a sandwich filling, the spread offered a perfect balance of creamy richness and fruity sweetness that delighted guests at parties and family gatherings. Its popularity reflected the era's love for combining convenience foods with bold, contrasting flavors that were both indulgent and approachable. Cream cheese and pineapple spread became a staple of mid-century entertaining due to its simplicity, taste, and visual appeal. While tastes have evolved, this spread remains a nostalgic favorite for those who appreciate quick, retro recipes that transform everyday ingredients into delicious treats. Egg and cheese breakfast muffins were a simple, affordable way to enjoy a hot breakfast using budget bread or biscuits, scrambled eggs, and melted cheese, popular in the 1970s. These handheld sandwiches could be made in batches, allowing families to feed multiple people quickly without needing expensive ingredients. Eggs provided protein and substance, while cheese added flavor and richness, making the muffins feel like a treat. Using inexpensive bread or homemade biscuits kept costs down while providing a soft, warm base for the fillings. These breakfast muffins were convenient for busy mornings and could be customized with leftovers or seasonal veggies for added nutrition. Their portability made them popular for school lunches or on-the-go meals, reflecting the growing need for quick-filling breakfasts in American households. Egg and cheese breakfast muffins captured the essence of 1970s budget-conscious cooking, simple, satisfying, and made with love from what was available. Vegetarian lentil stew with carrots and celery proved that a meatless dish could still be deeply satisfying. Lentils, one of the cheapest sources of protein, formed a rich and hearty base that absorbed the flavors of sautéed onions, earthy carrots, and crisp celery. Simmered with simple seasonings like bay leaves, thyme, and a hint of tomato paste, the stew developed a slow-cooked depth that belied its low cost. In an era when both budget-conscious and health-focused cooking were gaining ground, lentil stew became a practical staple for many households. It was the kind of dish that could be made in large batches, reheated well, and even frozen for future meals. Served with a crust of bread or over a bed of rice, it became a meal that filled the stomach and warmed the body. The affordability, nutrition, and adaptability of this stew made it a quiet but dependable hero of 1970s home cooking. Creamed corn on toast served as a comforting and quick Southern-inspired dish that made the most of pantry staples. This recipe blended tender corn kernels with a creamy sauce, often thickened with butter and milk, poured generously over toasted bread. The result was a rich, warm meal or side that offered both softness and a touch of sweetness in every bite. Creamed corn on toast was favored for its simplicity, requiring little time or complicated ingredients, yet delivering a satisfying flavor. Its roots lay in Southern cooking traditions where corn was a dietary mainstay and stretching meals creatively was common. This dish was especially popular during times when fresh vegetables were scarce, but canned or frozen corn was more readily available. It provided comfort and nourishment with minimal fuss, fitting perfectly into the fast-paced routines of mid-century households. The toast added a pleasant crunch that contrasted with the smoothness of the creamed corn, making it a textural delight. Over the years, it became a nostalgic favorite remembered for its humble origins and dependable appeal. Canned peaches with whipped cream was a beloved easy dessert in mid-century America, combining sweet canned peach slices topped with a generous layer of light, sweetened whipped cream. This no-fuss treat required no baking or cooking, making it a go-to choice for families wanting a simple yet satisfying finish to any meal. The juicy, tender peaches paired perfectly with the creamy richness of the whipped topping, creating a classic combination of textures and flavors. Often served in individual bowls or dishes, this dessert was a staple at summer dinners, holiday gatherings, and potlucks. Its convenience and deliciousness reflected the 1960s love for canned goods and quick recipes that fit busy lifestyles. Though fresh fruit desserts have become more popular today, canned peaches with whipped cream remain a nostalgic symbol of easy homemade sweets from the era. Green bean almondine in the 1970s was a side dish that felt simple yet refined, ideal for both weeknight dinners and holiday spreads. Fresh green beans were blanched until just tender, then sautéed in butter for a glossy finish and richer flavor. A sprinkle of toasted almonds added a nutty crunch that paired perfectly with the beans' crisp, tender bite. A squeeze of lemon juice or fresh herbs could brighten the flavor, making it as fresh as it was attractive. In an era when presentation mattered, it brought a vibrant pop of green to plates, balancing heavier roasts or casseroles. Home cooks loved it for being easy yet elegant, with variations like garlic or shallots for depth. Green bean almondine proved that elegance didn't require complexity, just thoughtful preparation and the right ingredients for a dish that left a lasting impression. Creamed peas on toast offered a quick and creamy way to enjoy vegetables, serving tender peas in a rich white sauce over crispy toast, making it a popular breakfast or light supper option during the 1970s. This dish was budget-friendly because it used canned or frozen peas and pantry ingredients like milk, butter, and flour to create a silky sauce. The creamy texture softened the peas, making them more appealing to children and adults alike, while the toast provided a crunchy base that helped stretch the meal further. It was a go-to recipe for households wanting to add a bit of vegetable goodness to their diets without splurging on fresh produce. The comforting combination of warm toast and rich sauce made it feel indulgent despite its simplicity and low cost. Creamed peas on toast captured the era's balance between thrift and taste, reminding families that even humble ingredients could come together to form a delicious and satisfying dish. Bulgur wheat pilaf with vegetables reflected the growing interest in health-conscious eating during the 1970s, but it was also an inexpensive way to make a filling meal. Bulgur was a grain that cooked quickly and absorbed flavors beautifully, making it a great base for sautéed onions, peppers, carrots, and sometimes a handful of herbs. It provided a nutty taste and a hearty texture, yet was much cheaper than meat-based dishes. This pilaf could be served as a main course for a light dinner or as a side dish to stretch more expensive proteins. Health food stores were becoming more common during this decade, And recipes like bulgur pilaf bridge the gap between nutrition and frugality. It could be made in large batches for just a few dollars, making it perfect for budget-minded families. The subtle flavors made it versatile, so leftovers could be repurposed into stuffed peppers or served cold as a salad. For those who wanted to eat well without spending much, bulgur wheat pilaf with vegetables proved that healthy and affordable could absolutely go hand in hand. Sloppy Joe sliders captured the spirit of casual mid-century American dining with a miniature take on the iconic Sloppy Joe sandwich. These small-sized versions used seasoned ground beef cooked in a tangy tomato-based sauce, spooned onto mini buns or rolls. The sliders maintained all the messy, flavorful charm of the original dish while offering a bite-sized option suitable for parties or quick meals. Sloppy Joe sliders reflected the era's growing interest in convenience foods and finger foods that were easy to serve and share. They became popular in homes where families sought fun, informal dining experiences without spending hours preparing food. The recipe was praised for using inexpensive ingredients and stretching ground meat across multiple servings, making it budget-conscious. Its presence at gatherings and potlucks highlighted a sense of community and simple enjoyment. The sliders also represented a culinary evolution where traditional meals adapted to smaller, snack-friendly formats, showcasing mid-century creativity in the kitchen. Sweet potato and raisin mash was a simple yet comforting side dish that brought together the natural sweetness of canned sweet potatoes with juicy raisins in an effortless mash. Popular during the 1960s, this recipe capitalized on pantry staples that required minimal prep but delivered satisfying flavor and texture. The sweet potatoes were mashed until smooth and mixed with plump raisins, creating a balance of creamy and chewy elements. Often served alongside main courses, this dish was prized for its sweetness and convenience, making it a common choice for busy weeknight dinners or holiday meals. Its quick preparation time fit well into the 10-minute recipe trend, offering families a way to add variety and warmth to the table without complex cooking techniques. While modern variations of sweet potato dishes tend to be more elaborate, the straightforward sweet potato and raisin mash stands as a nostalgic reminder of the resourceful, flavorful meals that defined 1960s American kitchens. Bourbon balls in the 1970s were a holiday indulgence that blended sweetness, warmth, and just enough bourbon kick to stand out. Made without baking, they combined crushed cookies, cocoa powder, powdered sugar, and bourbon, rolled into neat bite-sized spheres. Their flavor deepened over a few days, making them perfect for preparing ahead of festive gatherings. With a rich chocolate taste and a grown-up boozy aroma, they were a favorite at adult holiday parties, often displayed on decorative platters with other seasonal treats. While their flavor was bold, their size made them easy to enjoy in moderation, or grab a second without guilt. Recipes were often handwritten, passed down, and only brought out during the holidays. In an era when home entertaining was an art, bourbon balls added sophistication to dessert tables, proving that some of the best holiday traditions could fit in the palm of your hand. Vegetable pot pie without meat was a savory, budget-conscious dish that used whatever vegetables were available, baked under a simple crust to create a filling and comforting meal in the 1970s. This pie relied on affordable staples like potatoes, carrots, peas, and onions, mixed in a creamy sauce made from pantry basics like milk and flour. The crust was often homemade with flour and shortening, keeping costs low and preparation simple. Baking the pie allowed families to transform inexpensive vegetables into a hearty, warm dinner that could feed multiple people. It was especially popular during seasons when fresh meat was scarce or expensive, proving that vegetables alone could deliver satisfaction. The flaky crust added texture and substance, making each bite feel special despite the frugality behind it. Vegetable pot pie highlighted how 1970s cooks used ingenuity and basic ingredients to create meals that felt like a treat while keeping family budgets intact. Cabbage and noodle stir-fry, often called haluski, was a humble yet comforting dish rooted in Eastern European tradition and adopted in many American kitchens for its simplicity and low cost. Wide egg noodles were tossed with sautéed cabbage and onions cooked in plenty of butter until everything was tender and slightly caramelized. The sweetness of the cabbage balanced the savory richness of the butter, creating a dish that was greater than the sum of its parts. Haluski could be served on its own for a meatless dinner or as a hearty side alongside sausages or roasted meats. It was especially popular during colder months when cabbage was inexpensive and easy to store, making it a reliable staple for budget-conscious households. The recipe required only a handful of ingredients, yet delivered a deeply satisfying flavor that kept it in regular rotation. Some cooks added bits of bacon or kielbasa for extra richness when budgets allowed, while others kept it purely vegetarian. In either case, it was a dish that offered warmth, familiarity, and comfort, reminding families that simple, affordable cooking could still be full of heart and tradition without requiring expensive ingredients. Bacon-wrapped dates were a quick and flavorful appetizer combining smoky, salty bacon with sweet, chewy dates. This simple yet indulgent dish provided a delightful contrast in taste and texture that made it a popular choice for parties and casual gatherings during the mid-century era. The recipe required minimal ingredients and little time, making it accessible to home cooks looking to impress guests without elaborate preparations. Bacon-wrapped dates reflected a trend toward finger foods that offered both richness and a hint of exotic sweetness, appealing to evolving palates. The dish also showcased the inventive use of contrasting flavors typical of the period's culinary experimentation. Its ease of preparation and crowd-pleasing nature helped cement its place on appetizer menus and family celebrations alike. Bacon-wrapped dates remain a beloved classic that represents mid-20th century America's knack for combining simple ingredients into memorable bites. If these budget meals made your mouth water, you've passed the 70s flavor test, so comment your favorite and hit like and subscribe for more tasty throwbacks.